Israel is once again being talked about around the world. Everyone is watching. And at the same time, a strange movement has begun to emerge in Jerusalem. And many people are looking at this with a feeling that is difficult to explain. But now I will tell you exactly what happened. My friend, think about it. This city has existed for over 3,000 years. It's the city where kings have walked since ancient times, prophets have spoken, and where some of the most remarkable and impressive moments in the history of faith have taken place. Now that same city is experiencing strange times. The siren is sounding right now. Streets are being emptied and people are living in fear. People gazing intently at the sky, waiting for the signal to begin. Jerusalem is back on high alert. Soldiers are stationed at strategic points all day long. Gates to holy sites have been closed for security reasons, which makes perfect sense given the threats. Pilgrims who came from afar were trapped in the city due to the tension. Imagine if you were there, what would you do?
Pray and just stand wherever you want in the temple and pray.
And when that happens, the whole planet starts looking in the same direction. It's always been that way and it always will be, my brother. But what they didn't tell you, what nobody paid attention to, and now I'm going to reveal it to you. While all this unfolds on the surface of the city, where everyone is watching, something very curious is happening beneath it.
في من وراء إرهاب وعدوان على المصلين داخل المسجد الأقصى واضح إنه هو مشروع سياسي.
And the secret lies there. Archaeologists have once again discovered ancient structures hidden beneath the stones of Jerusalem. Stairs, paths and spaces used by people who lived there almost 2,000 years ago. That's fantastic, isn't it? Beneath the modern city lies another Jerusalem, very different from the rest. An ancient Jerusalem, full of forgotten passages, but which still speak volumes today. One of these discoveries caught the attention of many scholars. An ancient path that was used by pilgrims to climb up to the temple area has reappeared after being hidden for centuries. Stop for a moment and visualize this with me. Close your eyes and imagine. Thousands of people walked along that ancient road, men, women and children going to pray, singing psalms as they climbed toward the temple. This was the beautiful scenery of Jerusalem in biblical times. Now think for a moment about what it means to rediscover this path precisely at a time when the city is once again experiencing moments of tension. Do you realize how extraordinary this is? Ancient history resurfaces, while current events cause the world to gaze intently at Jerusalem. But there's something you need to understand. Jerusalem has always been a place where past and present seem to meet. It was there that King David established his capital around 1,000 years before Christ. That was where Solomon built the first temple. It was there that prophets proclaimed messages that have spanned centuries. And it was there too that Jesus walked among the crowds. Now comes something fascinating. Even after thousands of years of wars, destruction and reconstruction, Jerusalem continues to exist. It has been conquered by different empires: Babylonians, Romans, Crusaders, Ottomans. Even so, the city remains, as if there were something greater preserving that place. Look what the Bible says. Psalms chapter 125 verse 2. As the mountains surround Jerusalem, so the Lord surrounds his people both now and forevermore. These words were written almost 3,000 years ago. And even today, many people repeat this passage when they think of Jerusalem. Do you realize how this city carries a gigantic spiritual weight? But now comes the part that really makes a lot of people think. Whenever something strange or unusual happens in Jerusalem, Bible scholars turn to ancient prophecies. They try to understand if certain events might have some greater significance. Because Jerusalem appears many times when the Bible talks about important moments in history. This makes many people notice every detail that appears in that city. Ancient discoveries, political movements, unexpected tensions. Everything seems to take on a different weight. Now think about it, my friend. If you were walking today through the narrow streets of Jerusalem's old city, seeing watchful soldiers, hearing echoing prayers, and knowing that beneath your feet lie paths used by people who lived 2,000 years ago, what would go through your mind at that moment? Would you think that all of this is just part of the history of a very ancient city? Or would you consider that Jerusalem still holds events that could surprise us at any moment? This question starts to take on even more weight. Hen, you understand something curious about Jerusalem. The city is not only ancient, it is one of the few cities on the planet that has been destroyed and rebuilt so many times that archaeologists say there are several layers of Jerusalem, one on top of the other. Beneath the current streets lie the remains of cities that existed centuries ago. Each layer tells a part of the story, and now comes something that will leave you impressed. In some recent excavations, scholars have found objects that belong to people who lived during the time of the kings of Israel. Small clay seals used to close letters and official documents. Some of these seals bear names written in ancient Hebrew, names that appear in the Bible itself. Stop for a moment and imagine this: a small piece of clay, hidden for over 2,000 years, bearing the name of someone who lived during the time of the prophets. Do you realize how extraordinary this is? It's as if pieces of biblical history are coming back to light. But there's something you need to understand. Jerusalem has always sparked curiosity, because every discovery there seems to connect the past and present in a very powerful way. And when we look at the Bible, we see that this city was chosen for something special. Look at what the word says. 2 Chronicles chapter 6 verse 6. I have chosen Jerusalem so that my name may be there. These words were spoken during the reign of King Solomon, when the first temple was dedicated. At that time, Jerusalem became the spiritual center of the people of Israel. People used to travel for days to get there. Some came from distant deserts, others crossed mountains, all to pray in the temple. Now visualize this scene. Lines of pilgrims climbing the hills of Jerusalem, priests playing trumpets, the smell of incense in the air, psalms being sung by the crowds. It was a city full of spiritual life. But now comes something that really catches the eye. Even after the temple was destroyed by the Romans in the year 70 AD, Jerusalem never lost its importance. On the contrary, over the centuries, the city became sacred to three major religions: Jews, Christians, Muslims. Billions of people on the planet feel some kind of connection to that place. Can you imagine the weight of that? Few cities on the planet hold such profound significance for so many people at the same time. Do you see how this helps explain why Jerusalem is always in the news around the world? But there is another detail that makes many Bible scholars pay attention. Jerusalem appears in many passages that discuss important events involving the future. For example, look at this passage. Zechariah chapter 8 verse 3. I will return to Zion and dwell in the midst of Jerusalem, and Jerusalem shall be called the city of truth. These words were written approximately 500 years before Christ. Even so, many people still read this text today, trying to understand what it might mean. Do you notice how Jerusalem always seems to carry an air of expectation, as if something important was still connected to her? And you know what's even more interesting? While scholars excavate the city's past, new events continue to emerge on the surface. Political movements, unexpected tensions, decisions that are making the world look at Jerusalem again. All of this happening at the same time. If you enjoy reflecting on these ancient stories, surprising discoveries, and the connections between the Bible and current events, take this opportunity to subscribe to the channel. This way you can continue following these reflections that are making many people look at Jerusalem with new eyes. Because there's a very curious story about a specific place within the city that few visitors notice. A place that holds profound significance in the scriptures. And when you understand what happened there, Jerusalem begins to seem even more mysterious. This place is located on a very well-known hill in Jerusalem. Today it looks like just another elevation in the city's terrain. People walk by, tourists take photos, and many pass by without realizing what that place represents. But almost 2,000 years ago, something happened there that changed history. This hill became known as Golgotha. It was there that Jesus was crucified. Now imagine that old scene. The sky is darkening, a crowd watching in silence, Roman soldiers watching everything carefully, and 3 crosses erected on the hill To many it seemed like just another Roman execution, something common at that time. But for the followers of Jesus, that moment had a much deeper meaning. And you know what's even more impressive? Even after almost 2,000 years, millions of people still visit that place in Jerusalem. Some arrive in silence, others say prayers. Some simply stand there staring at the hill, trying to imagine what happened there. Do you realize the weight of this place? But now comes something that is very striking. A few meters away there is an ancient garden that many scholars associate with the tomb where Jesus was placed after the crucifixion. According to the Gospels, 3 days later, something happened that surprised even the disciples themselves. The tomb was empty. Look at what the biblical text says. Luke chapter 24, verse 6. He is not here, but has risen. Remember how he spoke to you while he was still in Galilee. These words completely changed the history of the Christian faith. From that moment on, Jerusalem came to be seen not only as a historical city, but as the place where the central event of the Christian message took place. And that explains something curious. Even today, 2,000 years later, pilgrims continue to arrive from all parts of the planet. Some come from America, others from Africa, others from Asia. They all shared the same desire, to see Jerusalem with their own eyes. Can you imagine that? People traveling thousands of kilometers to walk the same streets where Jesus walked. Do you realize how extraordinary this is? But there's something that few people realize when they visit the city. Jerusalem holds not only memories of the past, but also many expectations for the future, because several passages in the Bible speak about important events connected to the city. Look at what one of these words says. Zechariah chapter 14, verse 4. On that day his feet will stand on the Mount of Olives, east of Jerusalem. The Mount of Olives is located right next to the old city. From there you can see the whole of Jerusalem. The walls, the ancient temple, the surrounding valleys. Many people climb up this mountain just to admire the view. But for those who know the scriptures, that place holds a very profound meaning. Do you notice how Jerusalem is full of places that hold remarkable stories? Each hill, each stone, every street, everything seems to tell a part of the story. And perhaps that's why so many people pay attention whenever something different happens in that city. Because Jerusalem was never just an ordinary city. It has always been a place where unexpected events occur when no one is expecting them. Now think about this with me for a moment. If you were standing atop the Mount of Olives right now, looking down at Jerusalem, seeing that city full of history unfold before your eyes, what would be the first thought that would cross your mind? If this reflection is also sparking your curiosity, click like. This simple gesture helps this message reach other people who also enjoy understanding the profound stories of the Bible and the meaning of Jerusalem. Because there's a detail about the Mount of Olives that few visitors notice. And when you understand what has been happening in that place for centuries, Jerusalem begins to seem even more full of mysteries. This detail about the Mount of Olives often goes unnoticed by most people who visit Jerusalem. From afar, it looks like just a hill covered in trees and ancient paths. Pilgrims walk there every day. Tour guides explain the history of the place. Photos are taken with the old city in the background. But when you look more closely, something really catches your eye. The entire hillside is covered by a huge ancient cemetery. There are thousands and thousands of stone tombs scattered across the hill. Some are very old, others were made just a few decades ago. They all point in the same direction: Jerusalem. Now think about that for a moment. Why did so many people choose that particular place to be buried? The answer lies in an ancient belief linked to biblical prophecies. Many Jews believe that important events related to the future will begin precisely in that region. Therefore, for centuries, families have wished for their relatives to be buried there, as if that mountain held a special role in history. Do you realize the weight of this? People from different generations, separated by hundreds of years, made the same decision, resting on the Mount of Olives. But now comes something fascinating. This same mountain appears at several important moments in the Bible. It was there that King David passed weeping as he fled Jerusalem because of the rebellion of his son Absalom. 2 Samuel chapter 15, verse 30. And David went up the ascent of the Mount of Olives, weeping as he went up. Centuries later, Jesus also walked through that same place many times. It was there that he taught his disciples. It was there that he prayed during crucial moments. And it was there that a very significant episode took place. Matthew chapter 26, verse 39. My Father, if it is possible, may this cup be taken from me. Yet not as I will, but as you will. This prayer took place in the Garden of Gethsemane, which is located at the base of the Mount of Olives. Imagine the scene, silent night, ancient olive trees all around. Jesus prayed knowing that difficult times were coming. Do you realize how that mountain holds deep memories? But now comes something that really catches the eye. Today, when you climb to the top of the Mount of Olives and look out over Jerusalem, the first thing that appears before your eyes is the Temple Mount, one of the most sought after and observed places on the planet. Solomon's temple once stood there. The second temple was later rebuilt there, and today that area remains one of the most sensitive places on the planet. Anything that happens there quickly attracts the attention of the entire world. Did you realize that this is exactly what we see today? A small area of Jerusalem being observed by governments, religious leaders, and millions of people. But what intrigues many people is something else. Whenever tensions rise in Jerusalem, many people begin to recall the words of the prophets, words that speak of moments when the city would once again be at the center of national attention. This leads many scholars to observe every detail that emerges in that region: unexpected movements, political changes, decisions that affect Jerusalem. Everything seems to take on a different weight. Now let me ask you a sincere question. If you were standing now atop the Mount of Olives, looking down upon Jerusalem, seeing that city which has witnessed so many important events, would you think we'll still see memorable moments connected to this place? Because there's a little-known story about something that happened on the walls of Jerusalem many centuries ago, an event that many scholars believe left a deep mark on the city's history. And when you understand this episode, Jerusalem begins to seem even more full of signs and meanings. This episode occurred during a time when Jerusalem was gripped by fear. It was the time of King Hezekiah. The city faced a gigantic threat. The powerful Assyrian Empire advanced, conquering everything in its path. Cities fell one after another. Huge armies marched through the region, and now the target was Jerusalem. Imagine the scene back then. Messengers running through the streets, watchful guards on the walls. The people gathered inside the city, waiting to see what would happen. The enemy army arrived within a few kilometers. Its commander sent a message taunting the people of Jerusalem. 2 Kings chapter 18, verse 35. Who among all the gods of the earth has delivered his land out of my hand, that the Lord should deliver Jerusalem out of my hand? It was a direct threat. The enemies believed that Jerusalem would fall like all the other cities they had conquered. But something unexpected happened. King Hezekiah went to the temple and prayed. He presented that threat before God and asked for help. 2 Kings chapter 19, verse 19. Now therefore, O Lord our God, save us from his hand, that all the kingdoms of the earth may know that you alone are the Lord God. Something surprising happened that night. According to the biblical account, the enemy army was hit unexpectedly and had to retreat. Jerusalem was preserved. Do you realize the weight of this story? A small town surrounded by one of the most powerful armies of that time. And yet something changed the course of history. But now comes something interesting. This was not the only time Jerusalem seemed to be facing an impossible situation. Throughout the centuries, the city faced wars, invasions, and destruction. Many times it seemed that everything was about to end. Even so, Jerusalem continued to exist, as if there were always a new chapter beginning. This makes many people look at current events with attention, because every time Jerusalem experiences moments of tension again, some people remember these old stories in which unexpected events changed the course of things. Look at what a very well-known passage says. Isaiah chapter 31, verse 5. Like birds in flight, so the Lord of hosts will shield Jerusalem. He will shield her and deliver her. These words were written during a time of threat against the city. Even so, they talk about protection. Notice how Jerusalem always appears in the scriptures surrounded by significant events. Perhaps that's why so many people are watching every move that happens there today. Every piece of news, change, and decision involving the city. Everything seems to take on a greater meaning. Now think about it. If Jerusalem has already experienced so many surprising moments throughout history, will we still see unexpected events linked to this city? This is a question that many people are asking right now, and I want to know what you think. Do you believe that Jerusalem will still play an important role in the events mentioned in the Bible about the future? Write your thoughts in the comments below. It's very interesting to see how each person understands these signs and stories that span centuries. Because there is one last vision in the scriptures that speaks of Jerusalem in a completely different way. A vision that points to a time when the city will not be remembered for wars or threats, but for something that may surprise all of humanity. This vision appears at the end of the Bible. It was written by the Apostle John when he received a very powerful revelation about the future. At that time, John was isolated on an island called Patmos. He was far from the big cities, far from Jerusalem, far from the crowds. Even so, there he received a vision that has endured for centuries. A vision of a new Jerusalem. Revelation chapter 21, verse 10. And he carried me away in the spirit to a great and high mountain, and showed me the great city, the holy Jerusalem, descending out of heaven from God. Stop for a moment and imagine this scene. A Jerusalem unlike anything we've ever known. Not a city marked by conflict, siege, or tension, but a city full of light, prepared by God. This perspective has always attracted a great deal of attention from Bible scholars, because for thousands of years, Jerusalem was the scene of wars and disputes. Even so, the final vision of the scriptures shows something completely different. A restored city full of peace, and you know what's even more impressive? The Bible ends precisely with this image of hope. Revelation chapter 21, verse 4. And God will wipe away every tear from their eyes. There shall be no more death, nor sorrow, nor crying. There shall be no more pain, for the former things have passed away. Can you imagine weather like that? Without fear, without the sound of sirens, without external threats. A Jerusalem that will not be known for conflict, but for true peace. Do you realize how incredible that promise is? For centuries, people have looked to Jerusalem, trying to understand its role in history. Kings passed through. Prophets delivered messages there. Jesus walked those streets. And even today, that city continues to attract the attention of the world. Perhaps because Jerusalem was never just an ordinary city. She has always been a symbol of faith, of promise, and a reminder that history is still in motion. Now think about it, my friend. How many generations have looked at Jerusalem trying to understand what might still happen there? How many people walked those old streets hoping that something important was nearby? Perhaps that's why every news story involving Jerusalem attracts so much attention. Because deep down, many people feel that that city still holds important chapters of history. And here's a very personal reflection. The Bible doesn't just talk about events or cities. It also talks about people's hearts. Jesus said something that transcends generations. John chapter 14, verse 27. Peace I leave with you, my peace I give you. I do not give to you as the world gives. These words remind us that true peace does not depend solely on the circumstances around us. It begins within each person who trusts in God. So after all that we have seen about Jerusalem, about its history and its promises, perhaps the most important question is another one. When you look at all of this, do you believe that we will still see surprising events related to Jerusalem in the coming years? This is a reflection that continues to resonate in the hearts of millions of people around the world. Thanks for watching, God bless you, and see you in the next video. I'll be waiting for you.